Hey there, this is Titular Podcast episode 235, Translating in Your Head. Are you tired of lacking confidence when speaking English? Does it block you from achieving your true goals? This podcast is the place for you. This is Teacher Ola Podcast. My name's Ola Mierniczak. I'm an English teacher empowering English learners to become confident speakers. The key to fluency is in your pocket. Join my Top People newsletter for weekly motivation and free materials. Enjoy your journey to fluency. Hey there, thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to answer the question that pops up all the time. How? How to stop translating from my mother language, from my mother tongue, to English in my head? Very important question. I'll break it down for you today and I hope you change your mind about head translations after listening to this episode. This is a fragment of one of the foundations lesson. This is a fragment of one of the foundation lessons in my English course, Seol, Say It Out Loud. You can learn more about it at seol.pl. Before we start, let me warmly invite you to my 3-day free training during which you'll learn 3 secrets of fluent pronunciation. There will be 3 days of training, 21st, 22nd and 23rd of March. Sign up at teacherola.com/webinar. Language storage in the brain is very complex. It takes years to create all the connections, all the associations, to strengthen the links between grammar structures and vocabulary, and after some time, it all just clicks. Be patient if it hasn't clicked just yet. You have to go on. Consistency plus patience is your answer. It might seem that you have your main language, in our case Polish, in one part of the brain and English or any other foreign language in another part of the brain. And we might be tempted to think that it's possible to simply switch off one language and switch on the other one. Just stop thinking in Polish, right? Easy. Start thinking in English. Well, it's absolutely impossible. Language storage, as I said at the beginning, the language storage is complex. It's not clearly organized into some neat shelves or compartments. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's rather messy. Very, very messy. Like when you watch the criminal film and the character is trying to solve a mystery of a murder and he or she has that investigation board, covered with photos, pictures, notes, words, pieces of information, lines connecting some facts, some events. It looks so messy and nonsense, but you know what? In the end, when you move backwards, when you zoom out, when you look at the whole wall, you start to see the pattern. It turns out all these pieces of information actually come together and make a lot of sense. It's a language salad. Your brain is trying to grasp it all at once. The more pieces of information it has, the more connections it can make. Like red in English means czerwony in Polish. To see red means to be angry. And that makes sense because you associate red color with strong emotions, with blood, with rage, but also with love. And you have millions of such connections, associations. That's why adults learn faster than children. We simply have more such connections. We have more experience and more data in our brains. So now making the connections is easier for the brain. Of course, it causes problems. For instance, you have your idea of how to ask someone for their age in Polish, ile masz lat, and then you want to ask that in English, and you go somewhere along these lines. How many years do you have? And then you learn it's wrong because the proper structure in English is, how old are you? And your brain goes, wow, what a question. How old are you? Seriously? Jak stary jesteś? It's so much fun for the brain. But if you know the structure, if you know the pattern, you hear people using it, and you see that in the context, in the text you read, you start to use it, and then you stop thinking about it. It becomes a natural expression, and that's how you do it, with patience, one expression after another. You can speed up the process by learning grammar and vocabulary instead of just exposing yourself to it and waiting for your brain to notice the relations, the contrasts between your language and a foreign language. But the more data you put in, the more clicks happen. Also, notice how it expands your horizons. Now you have more than just one perspective on a given topic. This is how we express that in Polish. But your brain kind of grows when you show it another way of looking at things, at past, present, future. Present perfect? What's that? The brain is excited. Wow, we do not have that in our language storage. And those sounds, th, ch, amazing. The brain is exposed to new things. But now, how to use one language while speaking? How to choose the right structures? Well, in an attempt to mute your Polish, we've got to turn the volume of Polish down. Is it possible to completely mute out your Polish? No, even if you're bilingual. Even if you're fluent in English, Polish language in your brain can never be muted, and that makes me emotional a little bit for reasons I don't know. Very important thing is this. Your ability to turn down the volume of Polish in your head and making it quieter comes with time, with patience. So now, why do we translate from our mother tongue? It's not that you do those mental translations all the time. Like now, I'm not translating from Polish to English, but if I don't know the structure I need, I will start thinking in Polish. Once again, if you come across an unfamiliar grammatical structure, or if you hear words you don't know, what you can do, you will immediately begin translating word for word into or from your mother tongue. You will turn to available data. You hear the word nonplussed, for example. It's a new word and your brain automatically starts searching through available data. And what does it find? Nonplussed. Well, plus, benefit, not minus. Opposite of minus, adding, math, numbers, calculations, plussed, verb, non, prefix, dodać, dodany, nonplussed, niedodany. And here you are, confused, because the sentence goes, he was nonplussed by her question. And it makes zero sense to you. But see, our brains are busy trying to find connections and make out the meaning. Being busy like this results in us standing there, not listening anymore, but thinking. And that brain work causes us to be frozen. You say you get stuck and you give up listening. You give up speaking because you come across an unfamiliar word. So we translate in our heads when we don't know the grammar, words, context. So it's when you know the word or you know the grammatical structure, but you haven't seen it in such a context before. That is new data again. You also think in Polish when you want to check if you understand the thing you hear or read correctly. Just to make sure you grasp the idea and you compare it with your data in Polish to make it clear. And that makes you feel confident. If you can find the corresponding idea in Polish, you feel more confident. If you can, you feel much better. For example, to cry over spilt milk. Ah yeah, easy, very easy. We have exactly the same words for the same idea. Płakać nad rozlanym mlekiem. To beat around the bush means owijać w bawełnę. Okay, different words, but the meaning of the idea, we know this idea, we have it in Polish, it's familiar. easy. To be a wet blanket. And here we have no corresponding idiom in Polish. We just don't. And that's why it'll be hard for us to use it. Because even if you know the meaning, the lack of a corresponding phrase in Polish results in a lack of confidence. If you don't feel confident, you avoid the phrase. That leads me to my point. There's nothing wrong with translating in your head. You shouldn't try to stop that process. It gives you confidence. That's not the problem. Bilingual people translate, fluent people translate. You will also translate. The question is different. How to turn down the volume of your mother tongue? How to translate quickly? How to be fluent? Well, the answer is practice and patience. No magic solution, sorry, but only this one magical solution: consistency, patience, and practice. Here's your magical solution. It will do magic if you continue. One thing you have to avoid always is translating word for word. Look at this. How old are you? Right? Jak stary, jak stara jesteś? No. Translate. Translate, of course, but translate the whole phrase. That's why in our vocabulary section, in the SEOL course, we learn new words and sentences in context. That's why the translations I provide in audio training can be confusing for my SEOlers. It's because I want them to learn translating ideas, meanings, not words. Always try to turn down the volume of Polish. So you learn the whole phrase. How old are you? I'm 35. He's 40. She's 2. When he was 5, he would eat with his hands. The meaning, age. So how to turn down the volume of Polish quickly? That's the thing. You can't do it just like that. First, you need a lot of data you can use in speaking. You have to be fluent. When you're fluent, you can think in English. That takes consistency, practice, and patience. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace and say it out loud. Speaking of which, let's practice. Listen and repeat these sentences. Language storage in the brain is very complex. Language storage in the brain is very complex. It turns out all these pieces of information actually come together and make a lot of sense. It turns out all these pieces of information actually come together and make a lot of sense. Consistency plus patience is your answer. Consistency plus patience is your answer. How to choose the right structures. How to choose the right structures. He was nonplussed by her question. He was nonplussed by her question. To cry over the spilt milk. To cry over the spilt milk. To beat around the bush. To beat around the bush. If you don't feel confident, you avoid the phrase. If you don't feel confident, you avoid the phrase. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. The question is different. The question is different. Well done! Now don't forget to complete the worksheet for this episode. It's available at teacherola.com/235. I'm sure you've learned something new, something useful. I hope you can understand better what is really happening in your head when you translate from your mother tongue to a foreign language. If you like my work, please leave a comment on iTunes, rate this podcast on Spotify, and like it on YouTube. And tell someone! Go to teacherola.com/webinar and sign up for a free training. It's on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of March. I do such things only once in a few weeks, so go and grab your spot. teacherola.com/webinar. I'll be back soon and you stay fearless, say it out loud and take care. I'm your teacher, Teacher Ola, and you are listening to Teacher Ola podcast. Bye for now.